Good morning, HCI community. My name is Henrique, and today I'll present you the study me, Mateus, and Lesandro did about modeling and evaluating personas with software explainability requirements at Bookminas. But what is software explainability? Nowadays, interactive systems can play a decisive role in our lives. Whether through recommendations, road suggestions, or who to follow, those systems can influence its users' choices and opinions. As a consequence of those new superpowers, answers about how those outputs are generated have been increasingly demanded by the users. This new non-functional requirement is called explainability. However, little is known about how to gather information about users' perceptions and need of explainability. When talking about interactive systems, providing a good user experience is one of the key aspects to charm potential users. Understanding who's going to use a system has never been so important. Personas are a well-known ally when gathering requirements. By summarizing collected data from target audiences, those artifacts allow designers to understand key traits from the target audience and information about the ones who use the product, will use your product. Personas have been created for usability, communicability, and many other non-functional requirements, but how do I create them for explainability? How important are those explanations for the target audience? How can one model and understand the user's perception and needs and explainability? With those questions in mind, we propose a persona modeling and evaluation approach, which is comprised of 5 steps that can be summarized as follows. The first one is applying questionnaires to collect users' perceptions and needs and explainability. And then we obtain the response. With the obtained responses, we create empathy maps for each user. And then on the third step, we aggregate similar empathy maps from different users. And on the fourth step, with the aggregations, we create personas from the groups of empathy maps. At the fifth and last step, we validate those personas with the target users and designers. From step 1 to 3, when collecting perceptions and needs from users, we used data from the survey applied by Lozada and others in their research. The public whom the questionnaire has been applied to has a wide effect on the personas that will be generated. For example, if the public is mostly male, at the end of the process the results tend to be more personas from that gender. With that said, the target audience in this research is comprised of IT students and professionals. On the second step, we selected a pair of questions from Lozada's survey for each empathy map quadrant, which are the, does, thinks, feels, and says. Answers are on a 5-point Likert scale from 1 to 5. The quadrants feel, thinks, and says, we subtract the answer pair for being contradictory items selected. For the does quadrant, the average of the answer pair was calculated. For the 4 quadrants, if the result is greater than or equal to 2.5, it is labeled as positive, otherwise as negative for each user. Thus, at the end of the second step, for each user, there will be 4 dimensions and each of them has a value defined as positive or negative. The third step is the aggregation. Here, we aggregate the empathy maps while the quadrant of values are very similar or equal. At the end of the third step, there will be at least 1 empathy map in case everyone responded equally, or at most 16 empathy maps in case there were answers and all possibilities in the 4 quadrants of the empathy map. Moving on the 4th step, after aggregating, we generate personas based on the empathy maps. First thing is to identify the demographic traits of the participants. This is done for each group by calculating the mode of age, gender, and education. The second activity is to interpret the quadrants of the group's empathy map to describe it as an element of the persona. For doing that, we created 2 affirmatives, a positive and a negative one, for each quadrant. On the 5th and last step, 2 questionnaires with questions from Persona's Perception Scale from Selman and others on 2020, with answers in Likert scale between 1, which is I totally disagree, and 5, which is I totally agree, are applied. Both questionnaires applied have a set of personas. In the user survey, the user must select a persona that most represents him, and then answer the questions, taking into account only the selected persona. This questionnaire covers the topics of similarity, empathy, likability, aiming to quantify how much the generated personas represents the target audience. On the questionnaires on the perception of designers of quality, they must evaluate personas as a whole. This questionnaire covers the topics of credibility, completeness, and clarity. The survey, on the other hand, measures the designer's perceptions of the quality of the artifacts. In our case study scenario, the proposed approach for persona creation and evaluation is investigated in this study with participation of 61 users in the first step, which is the data collection, and 60 users and 38 designers in the fifth step, which is the evaluation. The obtained results include a set of 5 distinct personas with explainability context. All of the steps will be explained in the following slides. The 5 obtained personas. Here are the 5 obtained personas, which is Marcos, Felipe, Renata, Rodrigo, and Mateus. Taking Marcos as an example, which is the most frequent one. He's a chemistry student. He's always trying to understand and plan things before doing them. Hence, he believes explainability is a very important feature. He thinks that well-explained recommendations are safer to follow and has interest in understanding them. When trusting system recommendations, he trusts it. And where the first point is doesn't trust and the last one is trusts a lot. And interest in explainability, he is very interested, where the first point is not interested and the last point is the very interested. And this text has been written for all the personas. On the about section, there are the affirmatives from positive and negative quadrants, which is, for example, when he thinks that well-explained recommendations are safer to follow. This is a positive quote for the quadrant of thanks. Going on, the number of users aggregated in each empathy map. For Marcos, he has 21 users, which is 34% of the total users. Renata has 14 users, which is 23%. Mateus Umbelino has 11 users, which is 18%. Rodrigo has 10 users, which is 17%. And Felipe has 5 users, which corresponds to 8%. Yeah. Not many people identify with Felipe. Now, with the results. Here we have the average agreement of users and designers for each persona, perception scale construct, and overall agreement. On the left, we have the user's average level of agreement to the criteria of representativeness, which is made of similarity, empathy, and likability constructs from PPS, persona perception scale. On the right side, we have the a designer's evaluation of quality, which is comprised of credibility, completeness, and quality from persona perception scale as well. At first glance, it is possible to see that average agreement in mostly all the criteria except completeness is above the average of 3, represented by the dashed red line. The average agreement for representativeness was 3.7 out of 5, while the agreement for designer's survey and quality was 3.5 out of 7. It is worth mentioning that there was more agreement on the likability construct, indicating that the respondents find the personas likable. Also, between designers, there were a higher agreement on the clearness construct and less agreement on completeness, indicating that the designers perceive the personas as succinct and direct, and they are really easy to understand, but they're not complete. This is expected as their personas are seeking to contemplate the explainability requirement, but not to cover information relevant to other domains that are not relevant to this research. Now it counts the items of each survey. For the survey of users, we have the Spock's plot, and the first thing that we can see is that the interquartile ranges in this chart shows that at least 50% of the users' agreement for each items were greater than or equal the average of 3. In all of them, we have items. The items are always above the average of 3, and in addition, the medians of this chart also present evaluations above the average. The statements, this persona, this persona feels similar to myself, which is the first one on the list from top down. We had the values of median, 25th percentile and 75th percentile, and 4, indicating that the great majority of users found similarities of the personas with themselves. In the agreement per quality, which are the items that the designers entered for the whole persona group, and just like in the first graph, the medians of this chart also present evaluations above the average, except the evaluation items that correspond to completeness criterion that have medians between 2 and 4. Other than that, the questionnaire outliers predominantly of evaluations below 3, showing that these evaluations are minority. In the statement, I have met people like this persona belonging to the credibility criteria, which is the second one. Second question, had the values of median, 25th percentile and 75th percentile in 4, indicating that the majority of the participants found similarities of the personas with people close to them. Now jump into conclusions. In this case study, we employed the approach with the participation of 61 users. The obtained results include a set of 5 distinct personas representing mostly IT students and professionals. The personas were rated by the users as representative of them at an average level of 3.5 out of 5, and are rated by the designers as having a quality of 3.5 out of 5. The median rate is 4 out of 5 in most evaluation criteria for both users and designers. We believe that both the personas and their creation and evaluation approach are relevant contributions for designers and researchers looking for strategies to guide the development of software that satisfy the explainability non-functional requirement. And future work. So several future works can be conducted based on what is presented in this study. People willing to use our personas need to take into account that. In particular, we plan to employ personas in software development process, that is, to investigate how design people will build different interfaces and interactions from them. We also intend to seek the creation of more inclusive personas by carrying out data collection, which is the first step, with a wider and more diverse audience in terms of gender, race, geographic region, and also the so-called extreme characters. Thus, this study can support and motivate further work in the context of creating and using user models to build software with the requirement of explainability. And that's it. Thank you, and read our paper. If you have any question, please do. And that's it. See you. Have a good one. Bye.